So Sierra Madre has a little bit of a reputation of making games that have difficult to understand game states. The rules are not always terribly complicated in their lineup, with something like High Frontier being a big exception. But understanding why you should be doing actions in the game or knowing what to do round to round can be a real challenge in a lot of their titles. Take, for instance, John Company here by Wehrle, most famous probably for making Root. John Company doesn't have the most difficult rule set in the world. In fact, with just going through the rulebook once or twice, you can probably understand it almost entirely. However, knowing why you should be doing things in the game, what each executive or senior office is important for, it can be pretty hard to understand, especially if you're new to this game. So what I want to do is talk a little bit here about what you can do in your first or second game in terms of understanding why you should be doing anything. Now, I'm by no means an expert in this game. I don't know a ton about the East India Company. I have played this a handful of times. I think I am starting to wrap my head around it. So really, I just want to help new players or lost players kind of ease themselves into the game once the box gets opened up. So why don't we set it up and go from there? Cool, so here's John Company. I'm gonna go ahead and set the game up for 6 players, so let's get that taken care of. While this is speeding through the setup, I just want to mention a minute how much I love setting up games. Setting up board games is one of my favorite things to do. I always try to do it in advance of a game night. I like looking at the pieces and seeing everything laid out. It's a real zen, kind of relaxing time, I think, and one of my favorite parts of board gaming. So the first decision you're going to have to make in John Company is which offices you fill at game setup. Each player is going to get a chance to pick an available office. This will be the only moment of complete agency that a player will have throughout the entire game, so make it count. I would recommend going for chairman first and an executive as a second choice, because they have the highest chance of retirement. A chairman retires on a 4. And retirement is important because that is the main way you will be scoring points in the game. So sort of your ultimate goal, which you should always be kind of looking at as your end game, is getting points. And speaking of points, manners are a fantastic and reliable way to get some. You can put 1 cube here per family phase, and it's £5 for 2 points. Which is actually a pretty good trade. If you look at this Scottish island, it's £15 for 6 points, which is equal to manners. And so manners are always worth thinking about. What about the blue-collar parts of John Company, though? The shipyards, the factories. These are okay for making money. As the game goes on, you'll get little bits here and there, but they are maybe strongest in controlling votes. Votes are primarily determined with shipyards and factories, and so if you can force down legislation that doesn't help you out, or vote things in, it's really powerful. Don't underestimate voting. Legislation is strong. Let's shift gears now, though, and let's talk about the presidencies. Mechanically, they are identical. They have the same 3 actions: campaign, open trade, and sale. Where they differ is which region starts under their control and what it's good for. Let's take a look at Madras, for instance. It has a very low defense value and a very high plunder value, meaning if you campaign here and you have officers, it's an easy fight and you'll make a lot of money. Even on this prosperous side, it's only got a defense of 2, making it an easy target across the board. However, for sailing and making money for the company, it's not great. 5 goods for £12 or 5 goods for £8, depending on the side, not very solid. Looking at Hyderabad, on the other hand, it's got 3 goods and it makes you £15. The other side, even the depressed side, is pretty strong. It's 3 goods for £12. This will make the company a lot of money. That's the key word, though, the company. Do you really want the company to make a lot of money? Well, if you're the chairman and you've got a lot of shares, I would say yeah, certainly, because then you can just pocket as much of the company's money as you can. And if you don't have any shares, then you can not pay dividends and start to force a bailout, because bailouts are great. Now I know, that sounds a little bit counterintuitive. Bailout sounds like a bad thing. But if you have the cash and you've got a bunch of executives just waiting to retire, there is nothing sweeter than a bailout. You take all your executives, and at the end of the turn, you get to retire and score points. Yeah, it incurs a bit of a monetary penalty, but as long as you can afford it, it is fantastic. So the last thing that I want to talk about is this dastardly little elephant meeple that stomps through India and destroys everything that you've built. It's very important to be cognizant of which region it's going to move into next and how far away it might be from a place of interest to you and to the other players. So the most the elephant can move in one turn is 4. And if you happen to draw this on the first turn of the game, oof, buddy, he is going to Bengal, and he can do all kinds of damage here. He can depress the region. He could even wrestle it from the control of the East India Company, and that is not good. That is not fun. So, always be aware of how far the elephant could potentially move. Okay, well, there is John Company, Sierra Madre Games number 39 as per the side of this box. So I didn't want this to be a comprehensive strategy video. I didn't want to tell you what to do in this game. This is a very opaque game. It can be hard to see the ends to all of the mechanics that it presents you. And, I would have loved a little bit of a guidance in this game when I first started with it, a little nudge in a direction. And I'm hoping that this can provide that to some people. And a note that I want to make is that maybe the biggest misconception I had going in is that this is not a friendly game. This is not a game where you cooperate with people at the table for the benefit of the central company. This is a mean, selfish, greedy game. Okay, this is something where you want to be friends with people and you want to benefit the company only and only, I cannot say that enough, only if it means you are ultimately coming out ahead. Don't fund the company at your own sacrifice if it doesn't ultimately help you out. Don't do something for somebody if it doesn't ultimately help you out. This is a game about your own family succeeding while others fail. And I didn't realize that at first. I remember playing this the first time with some buddies, and we were all concerned about making sure the company stayed afloat. It was later that I realized that the company failing can help certain players a ton and hurt other players even more. You want to be on the helping side, right? You want to, if you are in a position where when the company fails, you benefit, sink that company. Do everything you can to sink that company. And if the company failing and being bailed out is going to help other players and not you, then that's when you want to keep the company afloat until you can flip those roles and make it benefit you and hurt others. It's a very dastardly game. It is sort of it's almost like a look at how individuals can use their greed and their own desires to take things around them and to skew them and bend them and mutilate them until it helps themselves. It's sort of a game that makes you think about some things, even outside of the game. Think about things in the world a little bit, and I think it's really powerful when a game can do that. And I think John Company does it excellently. So yeah, give John Company a try if you haven't already. Give it another try if you've played it and you were a little lukewarm on it. I think it's a game worth playing. It's not for everyone. You might just not be into it, and that's great. That's fine. But I think John Company is a game worth giving some extra attention to. And if you liked this video, check out my website, phasingplayer.com. I post all the videos that I do there, as well as a bunch of written content. I write reviews and essays about board games, video games, topics like bigger, grander topics in them, consequence and death in games, and that sort of thing. And yeah, I'd appreciate it if you'd take a look. So if you've got time, again, phasingplayer.com. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and stay friendly outside of John Company, but be very mean in John Company. And probably mean in some other games too. If there are people being mean to you, maybe you can be mean to them too. That's sort of an eye for an eye thing, but sometimes it, that feels good in the moment, an eye for an eye. I don't know. You just, be cool. Just be cool. How about? Just be cool. Take care.